pieces of ourselves, it's perfect timing now. We fueled the flames, but we're still learning to trust, It's never enough, never enough. Burning me up, burning me up. Don't fight the fire, too much too fast to burn us out. We walk the wire, love. Don't make me read your mind, I know it. Learning to trust, It's never enough, never enough. Burning me up, burning me up. I won't fall when I'm picking you up. Of my hand, I won't be strong enough. Our love is stronger, and I'll be here. My lead, now we're taking the jump. My pride, cause I know you're the one. Our love is stronger. Baby, I know that it's stronger than yesterday. Two sparks ignited. We left some space for us to breathe. My head is quiet now. I can rest in peace, cause you are more than enough, more than enough. Feeling the rush, burning in love, burning in love.
I'm the storm that meets the moon. I'm the sun that will not move. Who you think you are? Who do you think you
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RSC. It is, well, nice to have everybody back. You might be wondering what's that big blob of a black screen. Well, unfortunately, Psycho has met what is described as the working's man lifestyle. Has to find out what transport was for the first time. Unfortunately, has struggled to meet here. We do have a match ready and waiting. I am not going to wait for Psycho. I don't expect anybody to wait for Psycho. So our fabulous broadcaster there tonight, and as always in the RSC, is Sauce as well. So we might as well get the match underway directly. I would sit here and break it all down. I would sit there and, well, frankly, give you all the details. Not right now in this current moment of time, as we do start at Manfield night for our opening match of this new monthly, or well, with sponsor as well. You see throughout the highlights in the trailer so far, but AW3 and Aminals do take centre stage for the very first edition of this. The previous sort of tournament that was floating around was the versus ones that you might look around found fondly, but we do have this in return as well too, and a few decent shots here. AW3 probably, argumentatively speaking, there was a few points of conversation with the admin team and a few other seeders on who should be the top team. AW3 certainly got a few nods of appreciation, and certainly so. And well, if Psycho was here, he would be able to talk quite fondly of one of the players on this blue lineup in the form of Inferno. Played with him, taught him at times, and I believe Sasu is in the tournament as well, a Scottish org that is happily, well, taking a go. Well, that used to be the former lineup that he was playing under, not to be in that regards, but see, getting the opening goal quite through a nice bit of play here, and frankly, not too shabby either here. Meaty, arguably on the opposite side of the pitch here, probably should have every right to have the captain's band, Turbulent and L, who, to be fair, on their day is fabulous players, but they will be up against it in this best of three in the round 3 segment. The quarter-final onwards later will be, of course, broadcasted, so the last of the 16 showing quite a few, and when we do have later on, when I was quite enjoying having a laugh here, one of the managers sent me a DM and says, do you fancy Sentient versus Sentient? The European team versus the the German actual lineup as well. My history is correct on that, which would have been quite firmly a decent laugh here. Of course, Sentient Esports did play in a Christmas tournament not far ago, was on my personal stream of the Premiership, but we'll talk about that momentarily as a decent pass and play results into a goal here, and Jonas, who will be, how can we say it, wanting time to go back there. It wasn't particularly a difficult save, made the job much more difficult. Meaty, leave that one here. Rolling shots here, 2-1. The favourites, who have quite firmly came in, marked their territory, looking what can only be described as, well, lackluster, a little bit shocking. AW3, who has dominated Telelegan for some time, had some big scalps in the last season. The RLCS still yet to really puncture this season with some major results yet, but given on their day here, there is a side that is fabulous to behold here as the third goal runs on in, and you know what? This might just be a describe of the upset here, and Infernos, who had an absolute shocker in the back lines there. Oh dearie dear. I know Psycho, if he was here, would be quite firmly talking about his new position now. Sam, RLCS coach, just qualified for the main event. He's probably chuffed. Hopefully we'll have a word with him shortly around here, as half the game has gone by here, and see down from the back line, launching firmly up and down, and Meaty just tips it away here, and we say at this level here, 3-1 scoreline looks pretty much untouchable. It would be foolish to say anything but that, as another shot rattles high. Back it goes onto the other end here for a few onslaughts. Inferno sits patiently, fortunately taken off the play here and sent down the lines, and suddenly what was a minute, what was 30 seconds, just dissipates completely away. Jonas back around here and waits for the mistake to occur, and that's a fabulous bit of teamwork. Had a chance to clear it, didn't take it, and the second just follows on through. AW3 could do a little bit more here to get trying to get themselves back on the line here, and it might be a bit of a frustrating factor here. Meaty, whereas two fellow teammates who, I'd say, probably got disrespected, got probably firmly placed on what is known on their current results here. Showing AW3 up here in this opening display. It's fabulous to see, and huge credit of course to RSC and Panthera, who has put this monthly up, and it's always great to have it. There's been a few events floating around here as the fourth goal rattles its way through, and you know what? I think AW3, who could only describe this opening performance as frankly shocking, shouldn't be getting taken apart so easily. And they've allowed themselves to be exposed to such what was put on display here. Another few attempts has came by, and since then, well, was actually going to say, which you can see through the bracket command through Twitch or through other various sources, maybe on Twitter too, of the Sentient v Sentient, that particular matchup. We will have a look at the bracket after the series at some point here and actually show you who signed up and who moved across here. There was two RSC teams floating around here. It'd be interesting to see how they do stack up against some of the top end of the bubble, as the last 10 seconds easily just runs itself off the clock here. 4-1 being the opening scoreline. If you just thought and tuned in, you would believe AW3 had that in their column. You would have thought this would have been a much more comfortable win. You'd be wrong. And you know what? If you ask me going in here who on that Amno roster be the player to step up, who would be the player to sit there and arguably dominate the table, I would have said Meaty. I would have been wrong on that. So a lot of perceptions certainly broken in the opening game. Shame that it isn't a best of 5. That's just my personal belief. I would love to see a match maybe go longer. But the fact that we haven't seen AW3 come out in any shape or performance that has closed the gap down there, a little bit worrying. But after sort of 2-1, 3-1, you can allow AW3 to have some extent of, do you know what, game's gone, let it run by, reset for the second game. So how they perform here will be telling of what AW3 is capable of doing. As we do move towards our second map of this series, essentially the last one as well for AW3, which just shows you the importance of just getting everything into place. Kick-off going what could only be described to AW3's favour. They had the favour of this beforehand, and it's already looking like this red strip of Amno's looking for just the tempo to be set here quite firmly. The goal would just almost shock AW3 into a recoil. They would have to effectively drop what they've been doing or what they're most familiar of their strategies, and Seed, who almost been nameless so far here. All three of them probably guilty, and their Seed this time getting at least a save, rattles one away here, and well, will be interesting to see, and maybe worthwhile mentioning the Psycho could be easily appearing shortly through. But again, what could be easily appearing is that AW3 goal not happening in any shape or form. That's a fabulous pass right into the middle here, and Steve can only just look at the ball as his life just leaves it, just extinguished from the pupils, and the blackness moves across. Tribbler's done well, and the counter breathing down. See, they just sent that one down wide and dealt within the corner for a transitional play downfield here. Fabulous by Amnos. AW3 will be sitting there sighing, surely, almost in disbelief here of this opening game here. I thought that this one might be an obvious 2-0, not in the side at the way it's going here as Meaty Forces couldn't plough all its way through, but it's as simple as it gets here. Very much comfortable. Shocking though, no major goal has really came through how that plays there, and Amnos might be a little bit regretful that they haven't taken a chance here, but arguably speaking, hadn't had a chance there, what you would just go and say, yep, that has been the breakthrough. Hello Jonas, have you woken up? Certainly will be thankful to see the defender miss that one. A very fortuitous bounce as well. AW3 for the second time leads 1-0. If you are just tuning in to a regular stream of RSC, I'm sorry to disappoint, but hopefully you do sit tuned and stay for the monthly itself. Normal league play set of 4, but not here. Best of 3 in the last of 16 itself here. 2 minutes for Amnos to repeat the same feat there and see. Just getting the nick of time here, and a loose touch here. Quick shot, and Seed couldn't bury the chances here. Is the older players starting to feel a bit of fatigue here? And Meaty might start giggling that. I think he's actually older than the average of AW3, brought down by Inferno. Fabulous save there once more in Jonas. It just tips that one higher up here in our infield pass, and it just not making that vital connection, and Inferno will plant the second goal. AW3 finding arguably form, arguably a response. Where was that? Moments ago. It's almost ridiculous to think that they've lost it that low. Surely they would be doing something more to settle where the issues was here as Inferno. Just with a touch of that. Save beaten. Inferno waits. And that's a touch in, feel a bump to the keeper. Jonas not getting bumped, but that will do. Save cannot defend that. Should have been buried a little bit sooner than that. False hopes given for AW3. A 2-0 lead. Is it safe? One was clearly not. No more than 5 minutes ago. We're seeing now less than about 40 seconds when the initial goal of AW3 and the second was put on in. But the Amnos has at least got one back here. The second could easily rattle through as they are looking for a corner through play here. Jonas waiting, meaty with all that experience there, taking his time there, learn the retreat to occur, and that is sloppy defending. You just look at half a chance there, and you just need to get this ball away here. Don't worry about you're getting demoed. Look at where the positional play is. And Jonas forced the issue on reel of the hand, and Amnos 40 seconds here now to do what AW3 failed to do. Although this time Amnos with less time for a response here. Inferno up, so is Sieb, and Sieb's got the better trajectory downfield here. Of course he's going to take it over here. Infield, surely a bump on the keeper. No. Was that a fail of communication or just a bit of self-greed? Infield pass! Drop down into the bottom left side of that corner. Quite potentially near enough made Jonas wonder where it was going. In 25 seconds to sit there and find at least another one for Amnos to force an OT here. There's Jonas getting the block here. Launch downfield. Very little time here to sit here and formulate anything substantial. It is now gut instinct for Amnos, and arguably AW3 likewise still in the air. Inferno gets a very much a strong presence block here back in the middle. Backwards facing Amnos, chasing all the way down. Down it went. Down it chased. AW3 was likewise of all those words, but has found a way to get a spirit level back to even. And hopefully we will find a little bit more of familiar footing quite shortly here. Slightly surprised by that. I thought AW3 might just be on its way out, but who has at least had the decency of turning himself in. Psycho, how are you? I don't think the broadcaster likes you because I can't hear you.
You can hear me now. I'm going to bet all of my hard-earned cash on that fact. Can you hear me, Danny?
Unfortunately.
Good, excellent. Well, part of that series that I did get to catch, Danny, was very quite interesting. AW3, one of the teams I've seen more in my time, and Animals, a strong roster similarly so. And you know what? This series is shaping itself up pretty nicely, Danny.
It is. I would say Amnos, you may have not watched the first game as you were running up the staircase, probably getting to your PC at that point in time. I would say they were the better side over the two games. I might be wrong with a comment like that, but that's my belief. But thankfully for your case and everybody tuning in here for this last of the 16 games here. Best of 3 and a decider for the opening game of stream. Couldn't get any better. and Inferno will get one in too.
He certainly will, and it's a snappy start once again for AW3. That is an absolute blast downfield from Inferno, 110 kph. Not much stopping that, Danny.
No. Well, few players who could stop that, but I won't name them.
Yeah, I think us two wouldn't be part of that category, so we can leave ourselves just wondering what we could have became. The Seed taking this one round the side. He's done well to punt this ball forwards, but no boost in the tank. Zemil's going to throw this one higher, 50-50 to his name as well, and Animals just trying to save their own bacon at the back.
Well, there's been plenty of bacon shaved off here. And meaty up and around here. Will it be a pound or will it be a slab? Straight downfield it goes, and it's been planted here. Meaty's waits so on the opposite side, and Inferno moves across here. In the actual opening of this match, I actually talked about your, well, briefly talked about your history with Inferno, and I must say it's nice to see him on the pitch, and I guess and likewise for actually seeing them still playing too.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a player which has been around in the scene for such a long time, and I'm not sure if you mentioned the roster of which I did have the beautiful experience of working in with on the team of Shazoo. That's maybe going back 3 or 4 years. That's just how long this player has been at the top of his game, as that shot's going to rattle the crossbar from Meaty. Unfortunately, no conversion for Animals there.
Well, funny that you mentioned it. Yes, did mention that, and funny that Shazoo, the org, is playing. Different name, don't know the players up well enough. More than likely, and not for a free sponsorship or anything, but I believe it's the Scottish League sponsored by Iron Brew, not sponsoring RSC, but that's where Team Shazoo was last located, maybe between the brewery, as Trevor at least trying to find one here to giraffe something in here. An infield pass, and do you know what? Could have been a shot, wasn't a shot, so simply wasn't worthwhile talking about, was it?
Yeah, unfortunately not on that occasion, but jolly well could have been an opportunity. And speaking of an opportunity, Meaty downfield, he just has a free path all to himself, certainly aided by those two aggressive players downfield. Emil, I think maybe a bump and a demo to his name, doing all the heavy lifting there.
Certainly so. And I don't think Mitty would be happy to mention this once, and since you're here, we might well get a talk about old players. I think Mitty is the oldest player on this pitch.
I think you're absolutely right saying that.
By some considerable margin as well, too.
Yeah, I think we can consider this player a fossil. He's not an animal, because he's not on that side, but he is a fossil. That is the length of time that this player has been on the pitch. As Inferno is going to tip this one to the backboard. Tries to get a nice little 50-50 infield, but nothing found that time, as Treble has done well to beat out his man there.
Some great lineups that Meaty's been on. Next and a few others that he's teamed with in the past, who the current RLC system probably would have breached into the top 16. That is at least my opinion. I think others might disagree with, but Meaty in the defensive lines here, trying to defend the AW3 technically. A reverse sweep in this best of 3. I really hate saying that in a best of 3.
You've said it.
I know. It feels wrong.
Yeah, we can sit here and we can cry, but that is what it is. It's a reverse sweep in a best of 3. It doesn't really matter the length, as long as there's more than one game, and there is. And we are at that point. That could potentially be a possibility, as this ball's knocked downfield. A shot on target as well. I was so sure that that one was going to be covered off by this Animal squad, but the gap was left for AW3 to strike, and strike they did.
I think some of us may have thought that would have been posted out. Jonas getting that touch into it. And it's a shame, because this game was nicely poised. There wasn't anything flashy, but Amnul's last goal and only goal in this game 3 came through an empty back-end defence here at AW3, responding in kind here maybe, and just now Amnul's might score a goal here that might just rattle the confidence.
Oh, and that was jolly well close for Animals to see this game into an equal scoreline, but unfortunately the defender still had his wits about him. The reaction was quick as well. Sieb up to the ceiling. He's dropped this one down. It could have been 3. Maybe even should have been. It was a hard shot to convert, but again, a little bit of space for them on that occasion as Emil tries to work this ball downfield, but only as far as Inferno.
Jonas just being a nuisance here in the last second meeting. There's a demo on the other end, and Sieb's being hounded up and around. He really should have maybe just tried to blast that one across net, take a chance here. 18 seconds suddenly dwindles down to 10. Golden Tech shortly, and Meaty looking for a golden opportunity.
And Emil with one final chance, just trying to push this ball out of their own back lines. But the deal has been sealed, and it's been sealed by the squad of AW3, the veterans of old, almost the old guard of the bubble scene altogether. Throughout Rocket League's history, there has not been a team with this much presence across such a duration of time, I don't think, Danny.
There's about 2 I could probably think of.
Go on then.
Yeah, you're not getting to find out about it, Psycho. It's time for the history lessons for another time, but what is enjoyable was that series, and hopefully everybody has joined. There is plenty of series still to come, and with all the statistics and stats that is being flashed on your screens as well, I didn't go through the bracket, Psycho, that was on our display there. Would you like to take a small look at it?
I'd absolutely love to, and you know what, I was in so much of a hurry that I wasn't able to take a look at the bracket before I got to this position, and it would be nice to refresh ourselves, but I believe we do have a fancy graphic appearing on our screen to reveal the situation we now have as a result of that series win from AW3. We can see they're going to be pushed up into that next round against either one of the Stews or Team Hosky, and just below them in the bracket, the Sniffers have qualified through to the next round against Sentient Esports. That's potentially a game to watch, and still many results to be decided on the opposing end.
Well, certainly so. 2 beans, 1 baguette being one, a few on the other end of the scale there, and a few that we have quite a history in a different tournament of the Norwegians sitting top there against Factual Revolution. I think that's technically a local derby on that end of the bracket still to be played. Of course, that is the last 16 sets of matches, but that is your sort of brief update here. We will be returning quite shortly with another match, so from Psycho and I, don't go far away.
Yeah, next I just curd that chick, yeah, the album rich. Labels bout to tell me how they gonna make me rich. 50 milli independent, they ain't touching it, no. Yeah, they ain't touching it. Next I just curd that chick, yeah, the album rich. Labels bout to tell me how they gonna make me rich. 50 milli independent, they ain't touching it, no. Yeah, they ain't touching it, yeah. The homie is dead, R.I.P. Bad chicken Hulu's all I need. Lunch with the fam like steaks on me. Best lane breaks don't need them. Text that girl don't need her. She act flaky skirt. Yeah, her boyfriend on the Insta. She got no shit when she flirts. Y'all can't have it, but just know I have to have it first. I move swiftly, I move forward. No, I'm never in reverse. Told her if she has it once, I just might be hers. Yeah, I'll be the man. What else you heard? If they really want to smoke, I'll take some shots on the low. I'll take some shots on the low. If they really want to smoke, I'll take some shots on the low. I'll take some shots on the, yeah. Next, I just curd that chick, yeah, the album rips. Labels bout to tell me how they gonna make me rich. 50 milli independent, they ain't touching it. Yeah, they ain't touching it. Next, I just curd that chick, yeah, the album rips. Labels bout to tell me how they gonna make me rich. 50 milli independent, they ain't touching it. Yeah, I know.
baby, I got what you need. You just gotta figure out what you gon' offer me. Traveling so much, now they taking flights routine. I've been in the West, so I ain't stressing about a thing. Mira loca, I got options, one dance soca, one a rock chick. I just got back from New York, I really got my city poppin'. I do not do that commitment, expectations make it toxic. And I like my women freaky, they could join her, they could watch it. I got stacks up in my pocket, remember it was change. I've been placing bets where the rest are placing blame. Got an app for private jets just in case I need a plane. And a lawyer riding with us if we need something explained. Keep them on retainer, homie, we don't do no legal fees. I don't do the build a body, she with me then she unique. People riding with me cause to win you gonna need a team. If you out here messing up my energy then leave me be.
I just curd that shit, yeah, the album rips. Labels bout to tell me how they gonna make me rich. 50 million the penny, they ain't touching it. Yeah, they ain't touching it. Next, I just curd that shit, yeah, the album rips. Labels bout to tell me how they gonna make me rich. 50 million the penny, they ain't touching it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the RSC. It's a Tuesday, and you know what? I would say it's a horrible evening, and that's somewhat accurate because Seiko's got to spend it with me. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Danny. Even though I'm going to have to endure another series cast with you, I'm doing very well indeed, and I'm looking forward to watching some more play. And you know what? I've not seen too much of the competition so far, but from what I did see, there were some strong teams in the likes of AW3 and Animals in that previous round, and moving forward to this one, I think equally so, Danny.
Well, equal. So, yeah, that's pretty much. I don't have to disagree regarding there. I do have one problem, Seiko.
What would that be?
We've got two teams eager to play.
We do. It seems they're already in the lobby, Danny, and it seems we are already underway with this particular round between the Sniffers in blue, comprised of Fabso, Nico and Youngstar, and Sentient Esports, TRG, Hayes and Hartman. There are going to be a couple names that I'm sure you're all to recognise here, and almost a German derby on the field.
Yes, and I'm going to temporarily ignore there has been a goal on here. One of the players in this lobby, I won't go into the full details, I must say, has one of the strangest conversations I think I've ever had. And I'm now rooting for the other team because of that.
Right.
So let's go Sentient.
love how you spilled the beans there. So much for the delicacy with which you're approaching that topic. Go Sentient. That's the motto so far. But Sniffers are 1-0 up in this game, Danny, as an infield pass is thrown. And Youngstar not able to convert that time.
Well, I'm delicate to some degree, just not very often, Seiko, as you rightly know, but while it might be a sort of German affair onto pitch quite firmly so here, I think he is the only one that is not here. Funny enough, here he is, the Scottish man himself moves across here. If history is right here, I think TRG or Targan, he has played for Sentient at some point. I think TRG might be the only one that hasn't, so take that with a pinch of salt.
Well, if that is true, that's certainly proving of your knowledge, Danny. I would have had absolutely no clue, so it's great to know. Ooh, that was a bit scary. I'm not sure what those noises... There isn't a ghost. There isn't a ghost. I'm going to clarify right now, there was no ghost, believe it or not.
I thought you had a Metrodrome or something playing in the background there.
No.
The old-fashioned 1960s Star Trek in terms of getting the music prepared.
There was none of that, unfortunately, Danny. I'm not that sophisticated with how my sounds are made. That looks to be a little bit dangerous from Fabso, but no shot was found from Sentient Esports. As Hartman in the corner is going to grab this 100 boost, just take this slowly through. Hayes with a nice little touch forwards there for Sentient. And as these teams, I'm sure, are very familiar with themselves, both approaching with some level of comfortability in this first game, perhaps.
Should be. I'm just sort of sitting here wondering whether I should do this comment or not, and I'm doing it anyway. Archeon would be old enough to get that reference, Seiko.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Ark. I thought we had finished bullying you by now. I thought that came to a close at the end of last season when all we did was just, you know, belittle you.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
I'm just trying to guarantee that I'm not on for Archeon's series during playoff or getting the Premier playoffs either.
Ooh.
So I'm just going to keep bullying the head admin and founder, the man that's got all the hard work, and especially in the last 3 months, and various other staff members who's probably giggling away. So's he is for a second goal, as Psycho would describe this as a ooh situation.
Yeah, it was sort of one of those, but a bit less spooky, because you could sort of see it coming from a mile away, so the spookiness lost its effect. Again, a very free path to net that was for Sentient, as the Sniffers had just found themselves a little bit caught out with their positioning. But Youngstar nonetheless is going to press forwards. He's not going to be able to follow this touch as easily as he might like, as Nico wraps this one around, but TRG breathing some fresh air there.
Well, I'm glad one of the teams is getting fresh air after they've been sniffing, unfortunately, what can only be described as the wrong end for the smell. There is a potential chance here as Target moves down here. He is beaten, and you know what? TRG getting the final touch here. He's actually been bumped into position here as people decided to stop hitting each other and just focus on the ball.
Yeah, I think we've gone back to some standard play in terms of nobody being laced across the field with physical plays, as TRG is going to be intercepted here by Nico. A shot to come forwards, but blocked away quickly. That's another shot, though, from Fabzo, this time on target and unblocked by the opposition, straight into that top right-hand corner.
Fabulous to see, tied up quite, put in there at 2-2. And you know what, it was strange that it was left so unguarded here, but one of the managers of Sentient won't like me saying it, but I've casted them for a fair moment in their history. I've casted them for, 4 years, if not 5, over various different names at that point in two. I've got to say, they are a great team to cast over, as they let lots of goals in during their matches, just often their own nets.
Oh, the bullying doesn't stop, Danny. It's so rude. It's so harsh. And yet that fake from... Was it TRG? No, it wasn't. It was Hayes. Threw that player all the way into the trash can. And bullying that severe has not been seen so far today.
Well, I just want to let RSC, the prospects, the low end, maybe even some of the elite players realise that the bubble scene in the top end also get bubbled. They also get bullied too, but sometimes they also get bubbled as well. But I ran out of the ooh juice earlier, so it's just bullying then for the rest of this evening.
Just bullying. It's a typical day in the office for us too, it seems, as TRG with a pinch forwards.
What do you mean for us?
We're going to move that. We're going to move past that comment. I tried to join your ranks, but I don't think I can. I'm going to take back the comment.
Yeah, you don't have the fear factor.
Yeah, I'm like a squishy little toy bunny, really, in terms of intimidation. Yeah. So anyway,
how is the weather?
If I quickly alt-tab, it says -1 Celsius and clear. So there you go.
So slightly chilly, nippy, and nobody home, just like the Defenders was.
That was impressive. That was a darn good save right there from Sentient Esports. But the job has already been done this game. It's been a bit of a breeze for Sentient Esports in this game. One that perhaps they didn't expect from what this game looked like in the early stages. Those first 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes of play seemed so comfortable for both parties, really. But from them we saw a bit more chaos. We saw a bit more spontaneity in the play. And I think it made for the result we saw there.
Very diplomatic way of saying it was a high-scoring game there, Psycho.
Yeah, I needed to stretch out my words for that period of time, Danny.
Yes, you're just making up for not showing up in the first bit of the sentence there.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have you on the broadcast, Psycho.
Thank you.
Yes. So really, 1 Celsius.
-2 now, actually.
-2. It's getting
down.
colder, is it?
It is. And I'm going to really hope that you're going to spin this into a nice anecdote to get us started for this next game.
Well, it was, but, you know, could I be bothered talking about -2 when the star player was from Scotland, where cold weather always goes across and I'm always bitter? Do you know, there could have been a wee nice segue through there, but you're not getting it, Sego.
Well, okay, I'll just be left hanging for that one. Oh dear. That one's going to find the back of the net. Surely it is! Oh my goodness.
Oh, that ball was left hanging like me at any date that I asked for.
Oh no.
Miserable and always left behind, and he has left that ball firmly behind.
He certainly has, and it's another opening goal for Sentient. And actually, I don't think it was an opening goal reflecting on the last one, but an easy goal.
That was scoreable.
It was, for sure. But Sentient have yet again found a path that, Danny, I'm not sure the Sniffers are going to be happy with conceding, that's for sure. They know they are a capable roster, and in a series length like this, only 3 games, you got to be sharp when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah. Joe, I have an issue actually. It's just taking me half a game to work it out.
I'm all ears.
This team beat us as well, Sego.
Which one?
Sniffers. We played them no more than about a month ago.
Yeah, and that is because we are absolutely dreadful. But who is not dreadful at the moment is Sentient Esports, believe it or not. They're a game up and a goal up as well. They just need to hang on, but this counter-attack could be possible if it wasn't for that last-ditch effort from Hartman. As Hayes with 100 boost in the tank, trying to slow play this, maybe bait a couple players forwards to see this ball through to the other side.
Here's straight down, who arguably was the most impressive player of the last game around, still having that mantle there as Hartman up and around here, blocks it goes, and he is just, well, you describe it as being laced around the pitch here. I think, lace might be the wrong words.
Yeah, maybe so. At the moment, this side in blue, they're very happy to just absorb this pressure coming their direction from Sentient. No real chances being forged at the moment, but they are having to endure a wave of pressure that just seems to keep coming back to haunt them. That's another touch forwards from Hartman, but no player to directly follow, but they still have this shape, they still have this rotation moving forwards to keep them in good stead.
So follow through. Not necessarily fully breaking through to commits here, and he moves across, and the Sniffers, who might like a jovial laugh here, they're not finding anything funny, no purchase so far in what frankly is near enough 2 games worth. And Joe Watts here for Sentient with their, in quotations, new roster, or a temporary lineup, however way you want to break it to, because it's usually Matti 10, the former still German player, and see another goal runs in here. I must say it's nice to see Sentient winning, especially this lineup, because I normally don't get to see them win.
It's lovely. It's a great feeling, honestly, and it's a hard-working team. So good on them. But that was absolutely brutal, the method in which they did put away that third. That could be a nail in the coffin as well. There was a double demo, effectively, on the player who just respawned at the back, and just, that was it. That was curtains closed, seemingly, as TRG may make this 4 as well, but he's just going to back down, let Hayes fill in, maybe a double touch to his name, and it's just getting more difficult by the second for the Sniffers.
Certainly so. It's a bit almost a surprise here, because funny enough, was getting again a bit of conversation through Sentient, quite friendly with the organisation. If you are listening to it, you might be surprised based on some of the comments, as they've just conceded one. Told me who they thought the final should have been, or potentially who could be floating around in that conversation. Interesting take, but you know what? Sentient's got to be a bit worried here on their own problems here, as that's defendable. that shouldn't have really went through in any regards here, but they've got a buffer of 2 goals now. Do you know what? Let's see what they can do with it.
Oh,
Very
the
little.
timing is impeccable as always. That's beautiful. It's like poetry, but Youngstar has found exactly what was required, and that was seeing what the opposition could do. Said it completely the wrong time.
Sorry, but the sentence, it's like poetry but Youngstar. I've never heard anything more just than a sentence there.
I'm sure many players in our bubble space are going to definitely think of poetry when they see Youngstar, and poetry in motion is Hayes as he's just floating around. Took this one up to the sky, so much control as well. Youngstar at the back. He may be a poet, but he can't defend that. There's no chance.
Just wondering, can we change it to the Sniffers versus Hayes?
It's effectively what's going on right now. Hayes is having an absolute wonder game.
Well, he's had 2 so far.
It's true. Even the off-the-ball play from Hayes is just been what's making this Sentient roster so sharp at the moment. You could see him downfield going for the demos and such earlier as well, and now a 4-2 advantage their way. The Sniffers have been afforded one opening opportunity, and the other one was undefended by that back defender. As these seconds tick down, Sniffers, they are still in with a shot, but they need to get an attack going pretty much now.
I say the game's over. This is the moment where you stick the cattle on, you consider maybe opening the bread and think, you know what, I can make myself a sandwich in this time.
I love how you move swiftly on from making a cup of tea to opening the bread. I had no idea where you were going to go with that. I was picturing horrible things. Like maybe dunking some bread in a cup of tea or something. You almost scared me for a second.
What monster lives in your temple on that giant forehead of yours to go from dunking bread into tea and having it, or coffee, and having this mushy lump of... What sick individual is that?
Danny, we're going to move swiftly past this. There's 10 seconds
No,
left of play.
we are
There's
not.
every possibility that the Sniffers can make a remarkable comeback, if only it is for one more fortuitous attack. But unfortunately, none such thing has happened as Nico tries to wrap his way around. This could be a 5th for the man himself in TRG. So much time. And the Sniffers, they're already gone.
That was so good you could almost dunk your bread into your tea. Yes, it's a 5-3, 2-0 series scoreline. I've never been so disgusted in my life before the broadcast, but that takes it up there. Oh, right. Psycho.
Yeah.
The top seeds are almost getting knocked out tonight so far, quite vigorously. And do you know what? It's interesting to see. And do you know what? Rightly so far with some of the performance we're seeing.
Yeah, and to be honest, I can't even fault how Sentient played whatsoever. I thought they were so sharp, especially when it came to sort of that offensive creativity. The likes of Hayes that we mentioned once or twice for his sort of highlight plays himself, the disruption off the ball himself as well. It's clear to see that some of these more, I don't want to say disrespected teams, but the less favoured teams in terms of the seeding, they still have that sort of capability. It's just about stringing it together on the day, and that best of 3 deeply went in their favour.
Well, did so. We may as well have a look at the bracket here. The fabulous staff at RSC is working away, actually trying to get all the information you can. Of course, look on Smash, or you can stay tuned here as we provide the updates as everything that has gone through here. Be interesting to see how everything moves across here. And before we actually look more closer to the semi-final sets of matches, Team Hosky, who bringing it up for the fact is that Seiko and I knows the manager reasonably well. We know actually one of the players on that lineup, and one of those players really doesn't like me. Got knocked out there. So 2-1 was the result line on this one, but do you know what? It's actually a decent lineup. I'm not surprised by the result. but hoping to see actually them progress further, because you know what, it is a promising lineup there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's nice to see the results filled on the other side as well, with the Norwegian champs in Rotaryon and Tomtar on the other side of the bracket, and also Two Beans, One Baguette, a beautiful name, and Top G1. It's going to be interesting to see, like you said, how the remaining top teams rather fare, because, like you said, there's been quite a few upsets. It seems so far.
Joe, I know I'm dyslexic, but it really is difficult understanding you tonight so far, Psycho. Joe, what, do you need that cup of tea, a bit of bread, and you'll be fine?
Thanks for that. I do love a bit of a pat on the back to say everything's okay, especially a slip up like that. I've got my tea with me. I don't have my bread, so I can't really fulfill that for you, Danny.
Well, while the soldiers in the background lined, marching with the results coming through, we will take a short break here in the form of here on the stream. We hope you've enjoyed the action so far. One click away from the follow, but stay tuned. More action coming.
It was out there, looking at the landscape, and I gazed lost by holes his beauty, and I look at them happy to see this, and I look at them because it won't be turned.
Y'all ready for this?
beauty. And then look how them happy to see this. And then look how them be cool. It won't be too.
Y'all ready for this?
You notice my feelings out dancing on me, backstabbing up Meliodas. Get you on the scene, I guess you're gonna notice. I'm falling out, hey Janae. Your cheesy eyes that away with me. Your dreamy looks at me face. How about we both since you wrote this? I'm falling out, 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 I'm falling out. I'm falling out, she got me open. Bandage don't work at all, they know she's not my heart. Bet this her favorite song, reach and find what has to start. Get her understand when she gon' lie, that's just how she roll. Even making scenes to pass the time, making fights for fun. That's what you do, no more lies, you conspire. Took on my heart and invited desire. Get in mind to exaggerate our time now. Cause if you really wanna lie, hey, listen. I'm falling out, it's the day. Just chase the reaper away. I'm falling out, can't you say? I'm feeling calm with no way. I'm falling out, can't you say? I'm falling out, you're too late. I'm falling out, can't you say? I'm falling out, what's to say? Gaslit, too long, too wrong, too right, just to write a song. Distorted my reality. So I gotta leave my feelings on a shelf right now, while I work for better wealth and pray for better health. Been drowning in my thoughts, distorted reality. All these evil thoughts distort my reality. I'ma sing away the pain and trying to kill the devil away, so he won't live to see another day. He won't be in my way anymore, not anymore. Detached right now from reality. All I see is darkness surrounding me, and feeling torn apart. But I can't be consumed by the dark. So I gotta leave my feelings on a shelf right now, while I work for better wealth and pray for better health. Been drowning in my thoughts, distorted reality. All these evil thoughts distort my reality. I'ma sing away the pain and trying to kill the devil away. Zoned out right now in a different world, in a cold world. So sorry if I cannot talk. I'm trying to make it out, but I can barely walk. I feel it lacking on over me like a hawk. The darkness, and yeah, it talks to me through the evil thoughts in my mind. torn apart. But I can't be consumed by the dark. So I gotta leave my feelings on a shelf right now, while I work for better wealth and pray for better health. Been drowning in my thoughts, distorted reality. All these evil thoughts distort my reality. I'ma sing away the pain and trying to kill the devil away. I really ain't trying to concern you, but lately I've been a mess, and it's been pretty concerning how all my colors turn gray. I hate when shit is out of my control, and lately shit been out of my control. So I've been running fast in my head, trying to erase these thoughts, yeah, trying to find peace inside. But that shit's been hard to find. I cannot see it here, I cannot see it here. So I need to get away. Don't miss me too much, I know I'm gonna miss you, darling. Don't miss me too much, I know I'm gonna miss you, darling. Forever in my heart, but I need a new start, and find the happy me again. Clear sky, yeah, there will be, and one day I'll come home and better me. I really ain't trying to concern you, but lately I've been a mess, and it's been pretty concerning that all these colors turn gray. They say you can't find happiness where you've lost it, and I've lost it here. I cannot see it here, I cannot see it here. So I need to get away. Don't miss me too much, I know I'm gonna miss you, darling. Don't miss me too much, I know I'm gonna miss you, darling. Forever in my heart, but I need a new start, and find the happy me again. Clear sky, yeah, there will be, and one day I'll come home and better me. But for now, I'll be over the hills and far away. 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 But don't miss me too much, I know I'm gonna miss you, darling. Don't miss me too much, I know I'm gonna miss you, darling. Forever in my heart, but I need a new start. I don't see my name next to yours. I can't feel my weight anymore. Holding on to hope that I might be enough. You know what my heart's aiming for. Meet me up and tell me you needed someone better. I can't wait around anymore. Feel like we don't speak how we used to be together. Lying down on my bedroom floor. Late last night I called, hoping you pick up the phone. I know that there's been some time since I had you all alone. What you really like is the thing I wanna find. Find a way into your life. There's no way out when I'm just not enough. There's no way out when I just wanna run. There's no way out when I'm just not enough. There's no Keep running round in circles and lines, holding on the hope that I might be enough. Maybe I'm just wasting my time. Go. Meet me up and tell me you needed someone better. I can't wait around anymore. Feel like we don't speak how we used to be together. Lying down on my bedroom floor. Late last night I called, hoping you pick up the phone. I know that there's been some time since I had you all alone. What you really like is the thing I wanna find a way into your life, life, life. There's no way out when I'm just not enough. There's no way out when I just wanna run, wanna run. There's no way out when I'm just not enough. There's no way out when I just wanna run, wanna run. Yeah, no, yeah. Let me take you to the spotlight. I can take you from the day life. I can take your pain, pain and I. Let me take you to the spotlight. I can take you to the spotlight, spotlight. I can get you out of your damn mind, damn mind. I can get you out of this damn life, damn life. Go back to the store where we had it all, sipping Hennessy, going through it all. I know you don't want love. Now I know you've had enough. Heartbroken, yeah, your strings are sprung. They want you, said they were the one. Oh, let me take you to the spotlight. I can take you to the spotlight. I can take away your damn mind. Let me take you to the spotlight, spotlight. I can get you out of your damn mind, damn mind. I can get you out of this damn life, damn life. Go back to the store where we had it all, sipping Hennessy, going through it all. You don't need no love, no, you don't need no love. Yeah. You just need more hope. Yeah. Guidance, purity, you know that others can't see what you mean to me. I know that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the RSC, the Panthera Monthly. I hope everybody has enjoyed the action so far. I've seen a few of you follow. That's fabulous. Why don't the rest of you follow as well too? But Psycho sitting there smiling away, almost feeling regret saying yes here, because the pre-show behind the talk here before this series here, he's going to have a lots of regret, because he's just told me. But do you know what has regret? The bracket. Who has been fallen short so far in this sort of tournament so far? 64 teams was allotted, but we will only have 4 remaining because we are at the semi-final stage, Seiko. And do you know what? Who has dropped beneath this stage here? Because you know what? There has been arguably a few surprises.
Yeah, and I think one of those surprises was illustrated in the last round that we streamed, the Sentient Esports versus the Sniffers sort of derby we had going on. I think the underdog in Sentient Esports really thrived in that match, winning 2-0, but, you know, there are certainly other giants in this competition. Two Beans, One Baguette, a strong roster in their own rights, beaten by Top G1. That is the team who are going to be joining Rotaryon in this semi-finals. And, you know, just looking elsewhere as well, there are so many strong teams that I'm not even sure which one to really shed light on.
Well, it's a fair point as well. There is, mind you, one brief little thing I want to point out is AW3 and the Stews matchup still getting the result into that one, which is a slight surprise. The Stews that has been mentioned, Trin, King, Jess and Blackstrike, there's 2 fairly old players as well in the scene. I must say, there's been a bit of a talk recently, and all the sort of quarter-finalists, semi-finalists, a lot of the old players, very few actual up-and-comers actually new breaking the scene, and slightly, if you want to make a bit of an argument at a point, slightly surprised by how low some of the RSC teams is, but again, maybe that might be a wake-up call for 1 or 2.
Yeah, definitely, and I also think that sort of similarity is reflected across general RLCS play at the moment as well. You've seen the likes of dominating French rosters with the likes of KDOP and Fairy Peak that everyone just wrote off and said they're not going to make it again. It's not going to happen. They can still hold their own. That much is certainly so, and I think that's just due to the experience of some of the players on the field, Danny.
Certainly so. An old roster, Yukio, Speed, Matsunoris, and another bottle job in Game 5, but we'll ignore that point. But yes, the few points, I know you're giggling away, Seko, you don't need to hide it. But again, there is a gap to be bridged. The RSC has given quite a fair gap in the sponsorship that there. It's always great to see, and it does give them that experience and that chance here. That's why the elite, and that's why the Prems is always so important. Arguably, I'm being a bit harsh here, because some of the Prem teams are the players in slightly different lineups are playing tonight and are at this stage. But again, you would have thought at some point they would have filtered through, but this is the first monthly, so it'll be an interesting talking point during the podcast of RSC. I know a few of them will be breaking that down at some point as well. The second monthly, how does that compare in a month's time, which will be what we'll be somewhat looking at too.
Yeah, and I do think sort of the teams that are hanging around the top of the Premier tier for RSC are certainly capable of making deep runs in these sorts of competitions. And like you said, RSC is certainly facilitating that sort of development, that sort of growth from these sort of breakaway teams, these new young'uns breaking through onto the scene, making waves in our bubble space. And this tournament is a great playground for those players to continually thrive. So we'll be seeing them more in the upcoming months as this competition continues to run. But just looking at this match between Rotaryon and Top G1, I think we have two very differing rosters, and I'm curious to know who you think might be able to take this one.
I could.
You?
Yes.
The Danny Boy?
Is there any other?
I was just making sure, because that sounded ludicrous to me. Rotaryon and Top G1, two massive entities at the moment. Rotaryon, renowned as sort of Norwegian champion, certainly respected in their local scene and the bubble scene at large as well. In Top G1 they have individual class and individual talents, the likes of Vency, Icy, and also Ringer playing for them as well. It's a trio of deadly players, but I'm curious to know whether they work as a trio.
Well, it's an interesting point as you put across there. It'd be one I would like to see, and anybody who laughed or thought that I couldn't take one of these teams down, you're absolutely right, as Seko and I found out in a quarter-final match here. We won't mention the particular third, but you know what? It's nice to see what is possible, what is capable. And you know what? There is a potential possibility, and I'm just getting slightly worried. I think AW3 might have nicked the game that we're talking about in the quarter-final, semi-final sort of matchup could be made up here, so it could be a Norwegian final. Wouldn't be a surprise seeing a few of the top teams battling out in this fellow country in the monthly, but, well, there is a few teams who would like to ruin that particular storyline.
And what a storyline that would be. I certainly know what I'm rooting for just for the sake of that alone, as Pablo Bar early on is trying to do some damage with an air dribble, but is immediately blocked away. And just looking again at this Top G1 roster, all three of these players sort of known for their 1v1 and 2v2 sort of capabilities, especially Vency, who everyone's known to come and love, or in other cases a bit more of a controversial figure, but one that certainly has talent on the field.
Well, if you were listening earlier and you might be looking for uses for your bread, maybe Marmite be the best way to describe Vency, and that's certainly some people's decision making. He is arguably one of the best ones players that's came up in the European scene. People might disagree with that, but again, controversial character, but one that sparks a livelihood. Fully agree with that, but he doesn't get the respect he deserves arguably for his threes. If you actually look at the results that he's been in with teams that aren't permanent, do you know what, they're actually quite decent.
Oh yeah, his development across the years has been fantastic in that department, and this would just be adding to the tally of some of his successes. But unfortunately no contact was made to craft an opportunity for top G1 there. It's a nice interception from Pablo Bar. Once again, Vency filling in here. He goes for that double touch as well. He's got confidence and buckets of it.
I don't blame him, and news has circulated through, and unfortunately we can't say it's breaking news. AW3 lost theirs against the Stew 2-1, so that particular lineup will not be happening for the final, which is a shame, but relief for the others as Icy looking to go right through here, and Haven just punches that through. And you know what? This has been so far the closest match in terms of quality we've seen so far tonight.
Oh, and that's a breakaway chance though! And the first goal going the direction of Rotaryon, almost perfectly on cue once again, but like you said, this has been a dead close game for the first 3 or so minutes of play, and both of them showing their qualities. I think especially this sort of midfield play we're seeing at the moment with the likes of those crazy pre-jump interceptions, those interlinking plays. Everything's just coming together so far.
I would like to apologise to anybody who just watched. I did say it was a high quality match, and you just saw an empty net being rolled on in there.
It's bad timing. That's all there is to it. You're not the fault, Danny. So if you ever had worries, don't worry. It's okay.
Oh, don't worry. I know I'm not the fault, but I'm certainly in the start of all the complaints. So please don't send them to Sauce, the producer here at RSC. Feel free to send them to Archeon. He's certainly not busy at all.
Oh. Once again, I'd like to reiterate that I'm very sorry, Ark. I did not accept any sort of pre-broadcast bribes to ruin your name from Danny Boy in the booth. He's just taken that upon himself.
Alright, well, Psycho sits there and shapes the parameters and what we've been doing so far here. That 1-0 here, the ball hasn't certainly got into the box yet, hasn't been formed. We might need to see a true operation here. It's Vince, he gets a fabulous save under the circumstance, and that's a downfield ball that could be goal number 1. Problem is, when you shoot right at the keeper at point blank, it isn't going to go very far.
Certainly not, but well defended, like you said, from Vency. And Rotaryon continuing to tighten their grip, although this might be a little bit loose on the end of their defence, but BK's got this one covered. Icy rattling into the play there. Haven, nice touch forwards from the backboard, but there's no blue players downfield, so possession is immediately transferred back the direction of top G1, and maybe a chance to create something themselves, or maybe not.
That's the best overacting I've seen since EastEnders was still on the TV. It probably still is, but Psycho, well played, as that ball was so unlikely going in, and you know what, the chances of this being tied up is still very much looming on the shoulders of this red side here. Top G, well, unfortunately it might be bottom G. It is 1-0.
It's 1-0, and this ball is certainly going to settle down. As long as Haven could get some sort of touch, it wasn't even needed, and for Rotaryon, that is a perfect start to what is, against some very stiff competition, probably one of the strongest rosters we have in this competition that signed up. Icy, Ringer and Vency put to bay in game number 1.
Bit of a shame, and the only goal that was scored in this was a lack of rotation, the third man challenge, and a wide open net, at least half of the way of the pitch. So to the players of RSC, if you're maybe low ranks of prospect, low down, you're thinking, do you know what, please don't have Danny casting me. We make these mistakes, don't worry, the bubbles players make them too. They happen. And you know what, it's unforgivable when they happen, Psycho, and you know what, it shouldn't be happening at this level.
I knew the forgiveness was fake. I knew it. I knew it from the very first word that was uttered from your mouth, Danny, but it was an unfortunate way to concede. I think I'm going to be a little more forgiving. I think top G1, it was going well for them up until one missed touch. That was it. That was it. But Rotaryon, importantly to me, Danny, they seem like the team that was creating more chances, and regardless of that one minor slip-up, I thought they were capable of just that little bit more. We saw Vency with a miraculous save. He was almost bumped away on his own goal lines and a shot almost placed to the left of him, but he still made that clutch save. But I'm not sure that's too repeatable if threats that dangerous keep coming through.
Well, that is the gentle, the soft, almost choir-like tones of the now new Sam coach within the RLCS, who will be happily trying to get his team across the lines. And if you are looking to get him for the European region, he does have an email address. It's at you'renotgettingit.com, as the next ball here may have no defence as well. So who do I email for that one, Psycho?
Well, not me apparently, as Vency touches this ball back into his own corner. And Icy's quick to follow. There's only one blue player left at the back here, and he's beaten out by Vency. It rattles the crossbar, but Pablo Bar had the support in BK to keep this ball forwards and maybe craft an opportunity themselves. A musty flick down underneath two defenders as well. That's a really, really unfortunate moment on the counter-attack for this side in red. Both lunging, neither could make the contact they wanted.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add on that.
Are you sure?
Well, I do, but I'm just not going to.
Are you absolutely sure?
Yes, honey, I am.
Okay, great. So we're going to advance as if nothing ever happened. Oh my goodness, what a shot that is from Haven. That came from out of nowhere.
No, it didn't. It came from the air.
I quite like that finish.
I didn't.
So first you're saying yes, honey, as if everything's okay, and the next minute... I can't win. I can't win.
I could give you a useful book about marriage, about 3 rules that, you know, something said, just take it and don't argue back. Might be useful for you.
Yeah, it might also bore me to death as top G1 have been defeated. They are dead. It's 2-1.
So when I said, do I have anything to add, and I said no, honey, you go with that.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. Time to shift the focus. That's to this game. And
I would, but if I take my glasses off, I couldn't see the gameplay. That's a cracking idea. Thanks for that, Sego.
You're more than welcome to do so at any point in time. But I'm not sure the lack of sight would aid your commentary abilities in the booth, of which are certainly a question due to my conversational skills at the moment. Haven dropped this one down, but there's no immediate follow from Rotaryon. And top G1 on the counter, you can see a demo coming through from Vency, but no contact was made. The shot was off the mark as well for top G1, but a little bit of creativity to maybe give them hope they can recover a very, very heavy deficit at the moment.
I don't think there's anything that could be said from a commentary point of view if you are listening to this as a viewer. Psycho said it earlier, this game is done. So how's the weather?
-2 degrees
Still
and cloudy.
-2?
Yeah.
Oh, it's cloudy now.
Yeah, it's gone from clear to cloudy.
Clear to cloudy. Is there CO2 in the air by any chance?
I have absolutely no idea. You are literally a chemist, so you best provide me an answer.
A semi did there. I thought you would have went with yes.
I could have caught on, but I chose to not use
For
any
comic
of my brain
effect, you
cells.
played dumb there.
Yes, of course. I've done that
Yes.
a couple times today. Yeah.
You played it so effectively today. You've bamboozled everybody.
I've basically just, yeah. There's nothing more to it than that, really. I'm bamboozling the world. There's 1 minute 46 left on the clock. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what's being discussed. And to me, that just adds to how special of an occasion this is. We can all just relax, you know. There's time on the clock. We know the result. We can just chat.
We could. Joe, this game reminds me of getting like sort of a bag where you get free goodies into it. You don't know what's going to be in it yet, but you know, until you open it up, it could be very good or very bad.
Yeah, and so far, I think this bag of tricks has been works for Rotaryon. They're very happy with their bag. And Top G1 are unhappy. That's probably one of the worst casting transitions of all time. It's 3-1.
Yes, just for a bit of context, you're not going to get the viewers, listeners, or even readers at this point. Psycho hates me with that particular comment, and you know what? I think you'd be hitting the scoreline right now at that 3-1 point in time here, because we built this one up. I did use the line, it was potentially a quality match. It was a quality match.
Oh my goodness.
This has been such an oddity that, you know what? There's very little to say from an analytical point of view other than it happened.
It did. And I have to give credit to Rotaryon. 4-1 is an impressive scoreline in game number 2. Top G1, I'm not sure this has been a quality showing from them. And I know you're laughing because you can sense my brain whirring, and the answer is just a null void. It's just zeros at the moment. There's nothing. There's no traffic through this thick skull of mine at the moment, and it's quite upsetting.
Well, it's deeply upsetting, but it's the line. It's 4-1, and that's particularly good in the game 2 conversational point of view, but if it was in game 3, it's an awful scoreline. It's much like a 5-2 type of day.
Yeah, 4-1s are only allowed to be given that much respect when it's a game 2.
By any chance, you write the new Rocket League horoscopes when it's 2-1, and do you know what? If you have this scoreline, your day is going to be filled with sunshine and glory or something?
Something of the sort. Something similar.
Right.
Do you wanna break the news in terms of the series development, Danny?
Not really.
No?
No.
Well, just to remind people, in case they somehow have missed this valuable information, Rotaryon are 1 game away from making the grand finals. How has this happened?
They've won about 4 or 5 games before this point. They've won 2 games here, and I believe the term is known as match point cycle.
Match point?
Yes.
They just continually surprise me, to be honest, this roster. I know they've definitely grown in strength across the past couple months or year or so that they've perhaps been together, but just looking at these players as individuals, before this team came about, I'm not sure any of these 3 players particularly had much success outside of their teams, at least in the bubble scene generally, but it's just such a solid roster, something that's been formulated and put together so well in terms of a play style they have. Every single time I take to a casting booth rather, and watch this team perform, they surprise me.
What team?
Rotaryon.
Okay. So I just want to clarify that, because that was a wonderful sentence. It sounded like an essay answer. I was just unsure which team you were talking about.
I'm guessing I missed out that crucial information.
No, it's just I disagree with the conclusion based on what we've seen so far. But do you know what? Maybe, in the words of you, Sego, maybe we can mooch up and get on with it. It is game 3 and a very much a critical, crucial game, and Vinci has decided to change to what can only be described as a mistake.
That was exactly the line I was going to use after you finished yours, so I'm very glad to hear that we're on the same path there. I think it's a Proteus, or it's got some spinny things on it. It doesn't look the part in this particular lobby, but Venti's not going to care. He just wants something to change things up, and rightfully so after their team has been so...
not rightly so. Just forfeit and save the broadcaster and everybody else's time if you're going to come out in that. I don't care if this is the last broadcast I ever do. That is just not the thing to do.
Yep. It's... Okay, I need to stop looking at this car now. It's got some pincer things at the front, and they're starting to unsettle me. So I'm going to return back to the play itself, as Haven, this does look like a chance. He's dropped it down! It's a beautiful shot, Danny. And before you interrupt me about the pincers, I think we need to give credit where credit's due.
No.
No?
I'm done with this series. The Proteus has just taken the biscuit, has ran away. I am done with it.
Well, Rotaryon are looking to get done pretty quickly as well. That much is for certain. And Pablo Bar is really having a duel with Ringa and somehow won that battle out. I thought he was going to be tripped up on his goal line and maybe one was just going to float its way through. But Top G1 still yet to strike. It's been such an uncomfortable affair for them. They haven't been crafting opportunities. They haven't had control of the pace of the play whatsoever. Rotaryon have been dominating. And still with possession in their favour even now. It's just looking more and more downhill.
There was an earlier proper boxing match there which was providing at least some vague sense of, do you know what, let's actually have a tussle between this match here, and those earlier opportunities might hunt back, but do you know what, I think both sides here, and at least for the side in blue, will just be content at 1-0, run the clock down here. There might be the odd second goal, but it's nothing what we could sit here and say that would do any world of a difference here. There is a team and 3 players on the other side of the pitch.
Ringa is going to try and just push possession in Top G1's favour. And another bump has found its way through on the back lines. But yet again, Rotaryon supportive of each other. The right positions at the right times to deal with those thoughts, those types of, well, involved plays. 2 or more of these red players are throwing themselves in the mix, and now they're on the back foot. Ringa and Venci going to have to work together in collaboration to try and see this ball clear. And this timer, it's not making me too... It's not giving me too many positive thoughts in terms of a comeback for Top G1. It's going to be difficult.
See, I can give you positive thoughts here, but it's not for Top G1.
Yeah, it's for Rotaryon and that double Norwegian final situation which you mentioned earlier, and it's just come into my brain that is very much a possibility right now.
I'm pretty sure AW3 got knocked out.
Really?
Yeah, because I announced it about a game ago, and clearly you weren't listening.
I think I just misinterpreted. I genuinely thought your meaning was that they had won, so clearly my brain cells still need a bit of warming up. And Top G1 by the looks of things do as well. This is one of their final chances they may have as Venci gets past 2 players, intercepted though by Haven. And BK in that third man position, actually cut across by Pablo Bar. Just so much comfortability, so much the pitch is being covered off by these players in blue, and just no openings given for Top G1.
And that is the scenario, that is what's happened there on your screens here, and you know what? The fact that the clock is ticking down, it is only 1-0, it's been a blessing in some disguise here, because if you keep on scoring here, you just sort of want, you know what, let's just get in the final, let's just save the effort and time here. Ideally you want that second goal for the sake of comfort, just in case. But they haven't needed it. It was done and dusted after the second game.
It absolutely was. And Rotaryon are just going to be so pleased with themselves. But one final strike from Venci, but saved away from Haven, and also the post as well aided their affair to keep this in their favour. Rotaryon Esports finding themselves in the finals in what could only be described as one of the most unlikely situations I think I've seen live on air in quite some time, but what a performance they gave us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, that.
I'm so glad that you're the one that said that sentence and not me, but from the 2 of us, we'll see you in the final.
By my side. soften. All the stress, it might just put me in a coffin. And I just can't decide with all these options. So you know I gotta move with caution. Late nights too high, you've been in my mind. Long ride, nighttime, girl, come by my side. 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 And we could do what we want. It could be all night long. But I don't wanna get too gone. 'Cause I don't wanna do you wrong. Call me on my phone, I'll pick up. 'Cause I'm home alone. And you know that I'm missing you.
Aye, what? Counterfeit. Guess it from the thought of it. People fake. Think they need to start a kid. Tryna be real? This right here to start a kid. Pick the grind. Look like I just started it. Counterfeit. Guess it from the thought of it. People fake. Think they need to start a kid. Tryna be real? This right here to start a kid. Pick the grind. Look like I just started it. Rule 1, if your dog hold you down, do not take it for granted. Get a credit out if it's both of you that planned it. If you got some bread, they should not be empty-handed. If your homie winning, then you winning, understand it. Rule 2, don't compare yourself to anybody else. These days, people wanna be anyone but themselves. All that picture posting and fake boasting really doesn't help. Push it to the side and make sure you focus on yourself. But sometimes it get hard. I just keep on working till we make it out of Dodge. People posting pictures, really, that's just a mirage. Real ones with me, I know we gon' beat the odds. Counterfeit, guess it from the thought of it. People fake, think they need to start a kid. Tryna be real, this right here to start a kid. Pick the grind, look like I just started it. Counterfeit, guess it from the thought of it. People fake, think they need to start a kid. Tryna be real, this right here to start a kid. Pick the grind, look like I just started it. If somebody left me, I'ma let them leave. I just upgraded to a better me. Ain't no hard feelings, I'ma wish them well. You did me a favor, did it to yourself. Fake love come and go, especially when money grow. That's why I be staying low, keep it on the need to know. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, that don't happen. Say it did, must be capping. I don't let them catch me lagging. Cut you up, don't say I won't. Not afraid to say I'm wrong. Say you real, say you kill. Well, okay, I play it on. I don't care what they say. All I care about is action. Go and do what you do. Don't worry about their reaction. But sometimes it get hard. Facts. I just keep on working till we make it out of Dodge. Okay. People posting pictures, really, that's just a mirage. Real ones with me, I know we gon' beat the odds. Counterfeit, guess it from the thought of it. People fake, think they need to start a kid. Tryna be real, this right here to start a kid. Pick the grind, look like I just started it. Counterfeit, guess it from the thought of it. People fake, think they need to start a kid. Tryna be real, this right here to start a kid. Pick the grind, look like I just started it. Aye. We had some pride. Put it aside. Cutting the pie. With all the guys, Made mistakes and then I made up my mind. What other side? I gotta grind, I gotta grind. I gotta grind. I gotta grind. All of the time, 24/7, 365. Gotta get mine. Stay on my grind, Aye. Look, it's business, ain't personal. Money straight, so I'm curving them. Whoa. He been tweaking, something irking him. Did them favors, they was not deserving them. Boy, I be thinking a mile a minute. They gotta be kidding. We go to war, I'm the captain, the general, and the lieutenant. Nowhere to run or hide, I don't stop till it's finished. Me, I be minding my business, drop more records than Guinness. Gotta be a Guinness World Record. Don't play chess, nor checkers. I only play for keeps. Came out the east, boy, I'm a beast. He gotta keep the peace, that thing on him is keeping the peace. I never sleep, out in the streets, gotta stay out there, reach. With the mob, talk that talk, Seiko peace, Feel so big, talking Papa, Sean and Meech, We had some pride, put it aside, Cutting the pie, with all the guys, Made mistakes and then I made up my mind. What other side? I gotta grind, I gotta grind. I gotta grind. I gotta grind. All of the time, 24/7, 365. Gotta get mine. Stay on my grind, This just in, more doing, less discussion. Killing every single beat I'm touching. Sick with it, need a Rotaryon. Moving fast, but I'm never rushing. Damn boy, it's really other son. Say you poppin', but I know you wasn't. Not my brother and you not my cousin. Nah, we never buddy. I like to drink up my vision fuzzy. Money got me feeling lovey-dovey. I say a prayer to the God above me. Tell him I'm back, I gotta stay in my zone, man. Maybe I'll come with the dogs, Maybe I'll do it alone, Either way, I get what's sold to me. Never believe what's told to me. City on lock, I hold the key. We can't link, I got goals to meet. That's facts. Put the island on my back. Grind cause we gotta eat. We the ones they wanna see, man. With the mob, talk that talk. Seiko peace, Feel so big, talking Papa, Sean and Meech. We had some pride. Put it aside. Cutting the pie. With all the guys, Made mistakes and then I made up my mind. What other side? I gotta grind, I gotta grind. I gotta grind. I gotta grind. All of the time, 24/7, 365. Gotta get mine. Stay on my grind,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the RSC. It is the monthly itself, and you might be wondering, what's monthly? Well, luckily for you, it is the first edition of this monthly in Seiko. Well, what are we playing for?
We're playing for the grand total of £200, 150 quid going to our winner here today, and £50 going to our second place finishers. But also, there's more to it on the line than that. There is practice against some of the titans of Europe in our bubble space, and also an audience there to see you play it through as well. It's going to be a very interesting affair here in this grand finals, and we're going to recap the bracket just quickly now. There's been titans, like I mentioned just a second ago, that have been and gone in this competition to maybe make ways. Sorry, Danny. Yes, you've been and gone in this broadcast, but there's titans that have been defeated to make way for newer talents, maybe.
I don't like that last bit, but yes, that's been fairly much accurate so far. You talk about maybe newer titans, not really much in terms of the bubble scene would be the only asterisk to it, because the grand finalist is arguably people who has been here. It's just never been at the final in terms of anything major, and that's no disrespect to them. It's just everybody else has went up a gear. They are looking to be respectively be treated onto the same pedestal, and you know what, they rightly deserve it. Arguably one of those two teams, that statement would be true. The big asterisk though, Seiko, is Sentient, and I'm not going to be unkind to a team. I'm going to be brutal to this team. They're very good at making series longer, unnecessary, can't finish open nets or score some fairly obvious ones, and they always seem to swap and change their lineups. And you know what? The fact that they're in the final is a miracle.
Maybe so. And I've been briefly digging through their recent results this side of Sentient, and like you mentioned, that is almost accurate in terms of they've had many second place finishes in their time. It's clear that this team is capable, but seeing it across the finish line is a different matter altogether. They did take 2 first place wins over the last couple months, one of those being a Discord event and the other being a local event called the Rising Chaos, but we haven't seen the Sentient really step up a gear, whereas this Rotaryon roster, I think we can conversely say, have proven themselves by now. They've proven they can really fight with the top, especially their results in domestic competition.
I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, when you look at the Norwegian lineups, the history, AW3, certain other various players that you could probably list off as way J Walls being even just one of them, who has won so many of their national leagues, etc, etc, etc. And I won't bore you with the history of it, because when you actually look through it, you're sort of going, well, actually the Norwegians probably should have a much more, I wouldn't say a French-like grip in the RLCS or the rival series, but should have had probably a bit bigger stake than they did. But again, you can look at certain countries like Germany, only recently flourished, the Spanish region as well too. So the Norwegians, they've got to probably look at these type of matchups and sort of think we could take these comfortably. The problem is, Psycho, they don't do it often enough. Maybe
not so, but just the run of form that Rotaryon has showed so far in this competition as well, it's really nothing to be scoffed at. They had some tough matches, of which we did cover earlier, and they stomped through them with relative ease. We saw massive players like Vency and Icy struggling to craft and create a thing, and they were punished on the other end of the field as well, just time and time again by this Rotaryon roster. There's something about them. They just approach the play with such a professional sort of approach, I think it's fair to say, that you really can just give them credit for what they've built.
Well, certainly so. I don't think anybody's going to sit there and disagree, and the fact, if we want to draw parallels of the two, we didn't see top G1 really with the same sort of fight that you would have looked at. But when you look at Stews and Sentient, well, it was a 3-2 on the other side of the bracket. The fact that they went to the longer end of the distance, is that a worrying sign, or was that the tougher semi-final? Because I'm going to be brutally honest, I think everybody in the RC knows that. I think anybody in the scene knows that. I wouldn't have told anybody to watch the semi-final that we were watching. It wasn't close. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't the hype that we thought that would have been put into it. And one side would probably look at that and sort of go, well, we can only play to the opposition. Well, that is fair. And that's why they're in the final right now, and that's no disrespect to them. They beat who's in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do agree with you. That semi-finals really could have been built into something quite special, at least from how that first game was initially panning out. You had sort of a 1-1 scoreline, and you had such a tight sort of midfield battle between those two sides, but it just soon faded away, and it seems that Rotaryon just continued that sort of run of form from the first couple minutes, and their opponents comparatively just slipped away. And it is about consistency, events like these, especially with this sort of format where you're running through a large stint of best of threes as well before you make your way through to best of fives. It's important you can find that rhythm early on, and I think it's just something that Rotaryon can really find with ease.
I might be a bit harsh here, but I think the argument on rhythm, if you're going to lose early, lose early. But the fact that most of these teams and players now best of threes regularity in RLCS qualifiers, the best of five Swiss or day twos and all that there, I don't buy that conversation anymore, Psycho. And unfortunately that may be the wrong stance of it. Maybe players might start going, you know what, it actually is more like this. But what is, however, Psycho, is a grand final. The question is, who do you have taking it?
Well, for me, I think I need to put all of my chips firmly towards Rotaryon, because they have provided to me yet again another very confident performance against players of which that many would fear, especially in a semi-final situation, especially with viewers watching you back at home as well. There is pressure that adds up. Rotaryon, for me, are going to be the team to do it.
Well, I agree with that assessment. I agree that what we've been speaking about has formulated that structure off it wise, and I want us to say one thing clear here, what's going to come out of my mouth, which might be a surprise. I have Sentient winning this, but that's more the fact that I actually have a lot of respect for all these players here, but I know a few of the players that I would like to see them actually get over the line for once in their career, and to the org's sake as well too. They've deserved at least a chance to do so, and they've got themselves into the final. Best of 5 in this grand final. It's just a matter of who wants it.
And there's been one player which we've certainly really cast a light on for Sentient Esports so far in this competition as maybe a player to watch out for, and so far that's been Hayes, who's created so many individual plays, and almost on cue he is going to put away a first for Sentient Esports, albeit with a beautifully found pass from Hartman up to the ceiling. A nice little touch off there as well, and a good finish to match.
Hold that for a thought. He is at it again. He is doing what was put in front of him. But the question is, you can't rest on to it. They got almost like 2-3 goals the last time we saw them straight on similar footing. And that's a decent touch away here for Hayes, just to move it across as a defender ready. It looks like it's going wide. It is indeed there. And Pablo, who arguably is, you know what, usually such a strong player to go against, would be surprised here, do you know what, this team decides to play a little bit more defensively. It wasn't as fun compared to the semi-final just had there.
Oh, and TRG has only gone and extended his lead as well. You talked about how maybe Rotaryon need to be approaching this in slightly more of a defensive manner. And Sentient Esports, so far, they've had that shape. Rotaryon, they were looking to break out of their own back lines, but immediately TRG was there off the ball. Immediately he found that follow-up, and a very swift wake-up call maybe for Rotaryon.
You talk about wake-up, and there's Pablo with one shot, one opportunity, strikes with it too. 2-1 simply through that. A long time ago, when the top of the bubble scene was the likes of Casio and even the likes of the pros, then was very picked up. You had Mark Rules, Mystic, and all those various players at the time. And you sort of looked at, you sort of going, who's going to be the one that does the damage today? I think this might be a match between Pablo now and Hayes.
Maybe so, but Pablo Bar...
Which sounds like such an insult when you listen to that.
It wasn't.
Not meant to be.
Listen, you've had your fair share of insults today. I'm not sure that was supposed to be one of them. I'm gonna give you a free pass on that occasion as Pablo Bar through the skies. Trying to do... I'll let you go, Danny.
No, just... Oh, the mighty Pablo and Hayes, the new rivalry we were talking about. And it's 2-2. Do you know what? Finals are always interesting, usually for the wrong reasons. Do you know what? I'm just going to quietly sit in the corner for a moment here.
Yeah, I think Danny needs to A, collect himself, and B, maybe come to terms with the fact that this could be a very interesting final. Hopefully I've not gone and jinxed that, as I know you've got an immaculate track record of exactly that, Danny. But so far, Sentient are looking to be the team to make that push. To push it to 3-2. Pablo Bar over to the backboard though. Hayes with a nice little block there over to the side. Hartman following up swiftly so as well. He can do a bit of damage by beating this first player. Maybe that one was almost on target. Somehow the flick was almost on target. He had the infield option, but almost wasn't needed there.
So Hartman keeping at least the play at least somewhat vaguely alive there. The problem is you're somewhat the exit strategy in terms of getting the ball in and still keeping it tight to play off it here. And that's a free one downfield, and Hayes tips it away quite comfortably too. And what was such a telling point here, because I was having a conversation earlier when you weren't here, as that one moves on in at 3-2. The proper, if you want to use that term loosely, Sentient roster was in the grand final. We cast it, funny enough, in the Invitational at Christmas time, the only tournament at the time. And this Sentient lineup only has one of those players, mind you, on that particular lineup at the time. Went out early. Maybe a bit of history actually forming.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how both of these Sentient rosters are really thriving at the moment. And it's the one, conversely, it's the one which we saw back at that Christmas tournament that's really thriving right now. But certainly some players of old on the lineup as well, the likes of TRG and Hartman, who've been around for quite some time now. But at the moment, Rotaryon, they're still showing their confidence on the field. They're still showing their resilience. But there has been one or two slip-ups for them so far. Hopefully no more to come.
There's he is. Unfortunately, he is gone. Talk about potential slips-ups as well. These are battles almost unravel itself here, and you just maybe want a chance on the keeper off the post too, and all three has committed here. And Haven up down, no obvious or second man to play to, so BK will drop back here. And you know what? We saw such a direct line of attack here. Now we're going to see the other side of the game, and what a fabulous own goal!
And firmly placed in the sights of his own net. Unfortunately, that ball has spilled and been sniped home, courtesy of sort of a mixed bag of BK and Haven. BK being the player to initially challenge that one and throw off the man behind him. And unfortunately, Rotaryon, they have crumbled once again maybe, but BK does see this one off to the side. There's just about 10 seconds left of play. Maybe a counter-attack chance as Haven downfield. Maybe one touch infield could be a shooting chance. But still, Sentient live on, and an OT we might go to, if not for one more chance from Rotaryon. And they've made it stick.
And there's the Sentient defense that is so crystal clear in terms of what it is. Take it all in, because it doesn't exist. 4-3.
And I think there's something else to be taken in by Sentient right now, and hopefully that's not going to be almost like a pang of defeat. Real sort of disheartening. Because Rotaryon, they won that by the skin of their teeth. That was not the sort of gap in abilities that we saw in that semi-finals perhaps. Sentient were in this game, they lived through it very, very strongly in fact, and yet they fell short at the very last second.
Sorry, pang? Is that a new young man term I haven't heard of, or...?
I think that's a word. I kind of want to double check right now, but I'm not sure this is the time or the place, unfortunately. Oh, it's a pang. Well, there you go. If it's not a pang, it's a pang anyway. There we go.
Fair enough. Well, we have our chat to move across here, and while this final does heat up in terms of the competition, because, you know what, that semi-final I would love to forget, and I will be forgetting about it. This final, much more of the opposite, much more vibrant, much more what we wanted as well too. And you know what is vibrant as well, and I have to give credit to Sentient as well. They've actually tweeted this final as well too, so you know what, their org as well is up to this one here. Hopefully you are too at home, because credit to full of the RSC staff for getting this one up, and Pantheon for sponsoring the tournament. But Psycho, game 2 underway.
Underway indeed, and we saw such a beautiful first game, the sort of chaos that really made us think that any team could be the one to take it. Sentient are the team to take that initial lead. It's Hartman who's tucked it away. Hayes was quick to this ball. Pablo Bar caught in two minds. Do I stay back and wait? Do I push forwards? But unfortunately, I think with either decision, he was doomed right there.
Yeah, I've got an issue, however, with the shot.
Was it not top corner?
No, wasn't bottom left.
even if not the case, that was maybe placed slightly oddly. Rotaryon, we saw what they were capable of. We certainly did. And it's only been in these first opening seconds that we've seen flaw in Game 2 so far. TRG downfield may exploit yet another gap, though, as that one rattles the post. Haven up quickly. One more shooting chance before a keeper gets back in time, and it's laced the crossbar, and really, really easily could have been an equaliser.
Well, near enough, and the very experienced man himself in the background, Sauce, who I articulate most time as going to give Psycho a moment of delight. He hasn't had much victories in his career. Pang is a word, and I think that would summarise quite nicely with the defence being described as a sudden pain being the full definition. And you know what, it would be hilarious in the Rocket League version of Countdown. It's 2-0 though.
It is 2-0. And Sentient, I'm sure they feel something right about now, and that is some confidence courtesy of those 2 goals. And it's not a massive margin to stick with. They need to keep this sort of performance up, but it must be said, Rotaryon have let something slip in this game. That one's going to cross the line surely as Haven. He does wrap in just in the nick of time before that could have been blocked away for a second time. The first by the crossbar, oh, and the second one was almost there too.
Do you know when you're having that bad day in the office and you just want to go home?
No.
Oh yeah, you've never had that film, have you?
Yeah. I appreciate the anecdote though, Danny. It's very much true. And that was a bad day at the office for Sentient. That was one slip in Game 2. We saw a couple in Game 1 as well, and I think we can come to expect that under these circumstances. A grand final, nothing's going to be too clear cut. There's going to be a little bit of, well, a little bit of disruption, a little bit of unnatural behaviour for both sides. Maybe still warming up to things.
Oh, well, a cryptic set of potential words being thrown by Psycho. Maybe a few defensive mishaps could be thrown the other end here as he backs away here from what has been a stellar performance by him. And you know what, it'd be interesting to see what is next for the man himself here. And you talk about being the final. It's probably been what we said so far. We wanted a close match. It has delivered on that element here, and do you know what? Was not close on the double, and it has resulted into what has been Sentient's offense still continuing, but the actual potency of it has quite literally, well, almost as threatening as taking a glass of water. Very little.
Maybe so, but the intentions were positive for Sentient. Even though they've established this lead, they were still looking forward in terms of their play and leaving nothing behind. That one could have been 4 as TRG tries to go underneath one, and it seems that I can't count. It would have been 3 if that previous opportunity did stick. But nonetheless, Haven is going to work forwards. He's backed up by BK. And Pablo Bar wrapping around. Maybe a passing option downfield, but he's opted to just boot this one long, give his team a bit of space.
Were you struggling with the classic 1-2 and what follows after it?
Yeah, I think I did some addition by accident.
That's a horrible shame there.
Yeah. It is a shame. And at the moment, still, Rotaryon look to try and equalise in this game too. As Hayes with a counter-attack towards TRG in the midfield, blocked away by Pablo, who's continuing his stride forth. He's got 100 boost in the tank, and a nice little musty as well, or breezy even. Maybe didn't make the rotation as cleanly as he might have wanted, but he doesn't care, because the ball's in the back of the net, Danny.
Certainly so. And 4 goals has been placed into this game, and they haven't been separated from that moment in time. Defence here for Sentient, got to realise you can't afford to give too much space, and that's the costly factor. There's Haven with a potential chance, of course, getting the ball into middle. Not taken there.
We've seen Hayes just miss by narrow margins a double touch attempt earlier, and he tried something similar there but had to back down. He was forced and unable to make that opportunity stick at all as Pablo over to the side. He's got a nice fortuitous bounce. There's an infield pass towards Hartman. Yet again, blocked away. As this midfield battle still continues quite fiercely between both of these sides.
He's into the middle, and Haven's just doing what he has to, and that's delay either the block or the offense, and it's given Pablo a chance now to break down, and that's a decent blockade. And Hartman, if you're arguably trying to work out the weak point in the Sentient's defence, you'd rather face him than the other two. And Hartman's got another blockade, and that's our target on his back, potentially being the weak point here with OT. Looking like we're heading there, and it shall, of course, with the ball hitting to the ground. 2-2, and really for Sentient, I hate to put the pressure on them. I love it. They have to win this one.
They absolutely do, this squad. And they were up by 2 earlier in this game. But they did let it slip once again. That's a shot on target, but Haven almost just had to crawl across his line to get to the pace of that shot. This one's a little bit awkward though, as it drops down. BK all alone, completely stranded with his play, but finally supported by 2 blue players behind him. And Sentient just looking to whack this one forward, keep that attack going for as long as they can, but immediately fading away there.
Hartman getting lower block in. Target just launches downfield here, and it's a bit of a loose sense of play. Oh. And my word, that shooter went in. Pablo, fair play to the man himself here, getting away with it. Target, another shot. Oh. And do you know what? There's always a great question of where's the defence? Well, the defence was brought to the corner, and it'll be roundly shunned. 1-1.
And that's exactly how it ended. 2 players just running into the corner. Scarpa in to try and see that ball clear, and Haven stranded at the back. He tried, as he might have, to try and get some sort of contact on that ball, try to read that play as immaculately as he could, but that was a really, really nice performance from both sides, I do believe, just in terms of the play, generally speaking. We saw infield pass after infield pass, block after block. There was such a battle ensuing, and hopefully that's something that continues for these next games.
Certainly so, and I think that's potentially, the first OT. Don't necessarily remember anyone that was, well, can we put it this way, in terms of as important in terms of the series either. Sentient must move across here. I did say Hartman's probably the weakest defensively, so arguably got the 3 most important saves so far in that second game. But Seko, and this is the but here, I don't think either of those 2 sides will sit there sort of going, we need to repeat the same performance in that last game. They need to step it up a bit here, and by a reasonable margin.
Maybe so, but I think one of the only things that I can even criticise is maybe just the finishing of both sides at the roster. I can see they're creating chances, I can see the creativity that's going into some of these plays, and at times it seems undefendable if it goes absolutely right, but occasionally that final missing piece has been lost. And the puzzle of this game is still yet to see maybe the full potential, like you mentioned, of what both of these sides can do if they were to convert those chances.
Potential. As you're listening at home there, Seko now slightly disagrees on which end really might be the problem. We'll have at least 2 more games to work it out as well too, and I don't know if you're watching some of the RLCS action this weekend, Seko, but I won't say which caster because he might be embarrassed, although it certainly ends with Oyo in his name. Basically said never take endpoint to game 3.
I didn't see that.
Best of 5. Yeah.
I wish I did. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to run with your analogy for what it's worth. And that shot, it's so close. Yet again, it's so close. The chances are being proven time and time again. The finishing blow not made. What a touch that is from Pablo Bar. I think Haven was Scarpa in for a touch similarly so, but the fact Pablo Bar even got there in the first place was something to behold.
Well, he is moving downfield here. That chance there that you're gushing over is not as impressive as the goal moving in. The man with 3 very important stops in the last one will get on the shore street, and you know what? The vet should have done better.
Maybe so, but the pass was beautiful from Hayes as well. He was just taking his time methodically in that corner, just weaving up and down to try and bait forward any defenders, and the open space was just gifted to him on a silver platter. They respected his capabilities in that back corner. Just approached the play with that little extra bit of hesitation, perhaps, which spelt their ultimate demise in that play. As Hayes is up quickly, gets a flip reset. There's not much he can do at the moment unless Pablo Bar dies for this chance, but still Rotaryon, they know what to do in situations like these, and know even more so than I do when it comes on really how to execute such a thing.
You were saying?
So what happened there is Pablo Bar went for the back boost and Haven pushed too far forward and there was a goal.
Oh dear. There's a professional coach start coming into the broadcaster. No.
I'm not sure that was needed from the perspective of any such professional coach, Danny. I think many people could have seen that for themselves and winced just as I did when that went in. And Sentient, this lead has been built upon the foundations of some mishaps for Rotaryon so far. Some gaps which needed to have been closed, and something needs to be done in terms of a response.
Half the game to find it. It's the question of whether we're going to get it or not. We've had arguably a very close one, game one, a complete run away, but it certainly felt to the Norwegian side here as Haven, who made that save a lot more difficult just by the looks of it. He stretched for it, made it look difficult. 2 minutes now. And right now, you just sit there and looking and sort of going, do you know what? We don't have to do anything, just keep the ball safe, and that's all we have to do.
That one was far from safe though, as BK almost found that double touch. Lunging over to that backboard, but no such contact was found. That looks like a wide open net, the direction of Haven this time. Sentient Esports, they weren't just beaten out once, there was actually 2 players just surrounding that net. By the looks of things, Pablo and Haven just having a cruise to the finish line.
I'm sorry to break it to you, but VAR's called that offside.
Well, thank goodness we don't do offsides. That would have been a double offside. That would have been a double VAR decision.
You can obviously tell the man that doesn't watch football.
The notorious double VAR situation. It happens all the time in football. I'm sure all you avid supporters out there know exactly what I'm talking about. So far we have a situation of uncomfortability for both sides, and now Rotaryon have been gifted a chance. Now, we've seen that chance a couple times so far. History does often repeat itself, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's still a bit more chaos left in this game.
That ball just moves across. Well, Hayes can at least keep the possession off it, straight down, dropped it, and Haven's floating about here, gets another save here. Hartman has his shot right at the keeper, and Hayes just moves it across here. That was another shot straight at the keeper, but you know, history often repeats itself.
It does. Oh my goodness, that's 2 players. That's straight down, and BK's made a wonderful touch. A really dangerous one just infield. Caught that aggressor unawares and darted past them after both his teammates had just flew up at the play with absolute disregard for their safety at the back, as Hayes, a double touch chance blocked away by Pablo Bar, and as these seconds die down they might be afforded one last opportunity.
I would love to see Psycho quite literally as a health and safety instructor on an airplane or on a sort of rafters off and just tuck your legs in and pull the inflatable. This one might be a little bit wet. It might be a gusher at the back lines here, and he was crying for the chance to have a shot there. Clock said no, but Sentient takes it 2-1, and you know what is more important, Psycho? That's now champion point.
It is. And Sentient may be the team to push themselves across the finish line. We sort of alluded to how that could be an unlikely affair given the history of this roster. How many times they've come close but not quite managed that last final push. We may be witnessing one such occasion where they can do exactly that, but that last game, if you're to run with the analogy that you went with in me being sort of the safety instructor on an airlines, I think they were often afforded sort of that blown up airbag almost of just a cushion to keep them afloat in this series. That last game, the goals they converted, they weren't convincing the end of Sentient, or at least I don't think so, and in this last game they may have to prove everything for what it's worth.
See, if we are ever in that situation, Psycho, can you just do one thing for me?
What would that be?
Just let me go.
And with those positive words, everyone back at home, we're underway with what is, as you said, Champions Point between Rotaryon Esports and Sentient. Two teams which so far in this finals have proven they are far from perfect, but two teams that have had fights in them. The Sentient Esports may be crafting their own history lines at the moment, if only they can push this next 5 minutes in their direction.
Potentially so, and if you're looking to the RSC version of maybe the Top Gear special equivalent, let Archeon know. His email, of course, is within the Discord. Join down below. As targeted, he is deciding to play billiards among themselves, and do you know what? It's a cannon for 3 points. Sadly, it's only worth one in this game.
That was pretty risky. That was some confidence from Hayes, who wanted to thief away that goal.
Excuse me, but that is precision shooting.
Precision engineering.
No, he's Scottish, not German. How dare you? We have an engineer friend who is Scottish, and precision is not the word I would use. And Adam, if you're listening to this, you know it's true.
Maybe. And we're going to work our way downfield into the blue half now, courtesy of that quick counter from Sentient. But a nice bit of control from BK. Has only made its way downfield, a bit of ping pong. As TRG, he can find an infield option with an extra touch, but the air dribble didn't have the control he needed on that occasion. But Sentient still the team with the goal ahead, something that we may have overlooked slightly when that very interesting bump/pinch knock-on billiard effect occurred, but it's very much not too long left on the clock until they're crowned potential champions, Danny.
You're not a well-versed man of the game known as billiards then, are you?
I'm aware of it. It's like pool, but different.
Okay. I'm looking for a new co-caster. If anybody is interested, feel free to reach out on Twitter. It's at Psycho. I'm not going to bother spelling his full name, but feel free to DM him because he'll be the ones going through it.
And with, yet again, more positive words being said, even downfield catching a flip reset, and is that in? It's not.
Oh, look at that! Now. The man who has accidentally vomited into the Scrabble bag there and found a bunch of O's, I's and E's and ended up on Carl Vorderman or Rachel Riley's letterboard. Unfortunately, none of it made sense. It's still 1-0. It is, unfortunately, for one team tournament point, and for Sentient, they couldn't give a toss, a tear, or whatever, even a hoot. It's their tournament to lose from here.
Absolutely, and TRG, trying to set himself up for another path of destruction, has found an infield pass towards Hartman. No shot's going to be found that time. That's a booming ball downfield, maybe a redirect. Oh, from BK. No contact was found, and there's a bit of heartbreak inside of me, and I wonder what it feels like for him too.
Well, I can tell you what heartbreak feels like.
We shan't go there, Danny.
Fair enough.
You know where we shall go, though?
Home?
I was more thinking the dying seconds in potentially this
final
there's still
game 90 seconds!
Oh!
I don't know what you're talking about. At any point at this time here, every caster would say, oh, there's 90 seconds, there's plenty of time for a comeback. Anybody could score here. What happened, Psycho?
There was 90 seconds left and there was plenty of time to score one, and then Rotaryon scored.
Wow! Really? My genius frightens people, doesn't it?
I think it was my genius on that occasion, but yeah, yours does too. I think my intelligence is unmatched. And
oh,
I'm
that's
not sure
certainly true.
We just heard some beautiful words from the producer behind the scenes who mocked the intelligence of both of us, so that's nice to know. But with 1 minute left, it's going to be a battle of the brains between these two teams in terms of which one can take a grip. And so far, Pablo Bart finding this ball into the corner, as I can just about hear a couple of gasps for air from Danny, who's probably going to tell me about potentially myself needing to get a grip as well.
Well, you certainly do, but it's arguably a battle of brawn and grit, and Hayes has certainly found the grit. He's probably used to it, being from Scotland. An old-fashioned gravel pitch is certainly what I'm familiar with, and I'll tell you this here, there'll be a few people on their knees praying, especially in the blue-fashioned I-like logo from Channel 4 if you're from Big Brother, but unfortunately it's only 10 o'clock. There's still plenty of time for another confession. Oh, there certainly is. Where's that cue ball going? John Virgo, eat your heart out. It's a Scottish wonder.
It certainly is, and unfortunately for Rotaryon, it's all fell apart. And now it's almost certain that their defeat is inbound in this next 30 seconds of play, unless a miracle can be worked by this side in blue. They're often a determined one. Often they do find fruits to their labour. That's a fantastic shot and pass. Really nicely well worked play in the dying seconds here by Rotaryon. Hartman baited out a demo on the back lines as well. The game is still on, Danny.
Can you tell this game's much more interesting? The casters actually care.
Whew! Let's stay that way. 15 seconds, Danny. There's Pablo. Oh, if that dunk did come through, you could also see BK on the side able to pick up the remnants of that play. But there is simply nothing left that can be done for Rotaryon. This match is over as Haven in the corner, with maybe one more spark of light, has prodded this one in field, and a shot just off its mark, courtesy of a gorgeous save from our victors in the end. Sentient Esports, as you rightly predicted, Danny, are your champions for this monthly event.
Can you say that again?
Sentient Esports are your champions.
That wasn't the bit I wanted, and it was the more interesting bit. But yes, Sentient Esports are your champions. They've finally broken the goose egg itself. They've actually won a tournament, a feeling they have never felt before in the Rocket League scene. A huge congratulations towards them. Their opposition, however, not familiar on the sense of losing. But heartbreak goes round, although in my case it's always a permanent thing. Psycho, what have they won?
They've won themselves £150 courtesy of this competition, and also hopefully a lot of respect as well, as they did have such a difficult run in this competition and proved themselves more than once in that sort of derby that we saw in the semi-finals, which was also streamed to you against the likes of the Sniffers, who we thought on paper were going to be one of the top dogs, inverted commas, here today, yet beaten. And then also in the grand finals, there was no better option in terms of who's to root for than this Sentient squad.
Well, all I say is I predict them and you didn't, and everybody else probably didn't predict Sentient. But anyways, Sentient, that's their bracket, that is their trophy. They've won it. It's on the likes of Liquipedia or Starter, even in the Discord. Don't forget to join below. Of course, Panthera, the sponsor, the £200 itself. A huge thank you to them, and as well to RSC itself for running it, setting it up, and well, putting up through, well, can only be described as the most chaotic set of casters within the scene itself, or at least one of them. But Psycho, there's only I suppose, one last thing to say.
Well, from us here in the booth, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you've enjoyed some of our periods of chaos, just like Danny just mentioned. It's been an absolute pleasure here today, but these monthly tournaments will be making a return courtesy of that shared name. This has only been the first of RSC's monthly competitions. More to come, and hopefully we'll see you very soon. Good night.
I'm the storm that beats the moon. I'm the sun that will not move. Do you think you are? Who do you think you I've been quiet